experts said there was no hope, they followed their hearts.
No, I'm not a doctor. I'm the mother of a sick child.
When others couldn't see, their search began.
No foundation has the right to stop me from asking questions which might have me safe.
When their only chance was a miracle, they made their own. Nick Nolte, Susan Sarandon, in a true story, Lorenzo's Oil.
So this is based on a true story about this kid who ends up getting adrenoleukodystrophy, which is basically, it's a disease linked to the X chromosome, a result of fatty acid buildup caused by acid beta oxidation, and the symptoms that it causes. It results in seizures, hyperactivity, buildup causes damage in the shell of the nerves of the brain. Other symptoms including problems in speaking, listening, and understanding verbal instructions. This is just stuff I'm looking up here because I really didn't know anything too much about this particular disease until I looked up this movie. And it is a rare disease. You're basically following the story based on the true story of the people who had searched for a cure for the disease of this, Augusto and Michaela O'Done, and that led to the development of Lorenzo's Oil. So, I mean, judging by this, you can kind of pretty much tell what kind of a movie this is going to be. This is kind of like kind of an Oscar baitish type of film that you would expect from this time of the year. But honestly, for what this movie is, it's a really well done movie. I mean, it is a very Oscar baitish type film, but a good kind of Oscar baitish type film. The type of movie that actually earns everything that they're trying to sell to you. It isn't like a movie that's trying to force these things on you, like it's trying to force an emotion out of you. Like, every emotion that this movie delivers here is definitely earned. This is a movie that earns every single emotional moment here, and it's mostly because of the performances involved. Nick Nolte is great in this movie. I think Susan Sarandon does a pretty good job in this movie. The young kid who plays Lorenzo, Zach O'Malley Greensburg, he's pretty good in the movie, too. This has a really good cast. You got Peter Ustinov, Gary Bauman from Home Alone, Catherine Wilholt, Margot Martindale, James Rebhorn, Laura Linney's in here. Just an overall solid cast overall. And like I said, the movie earns every bit of emotion that it gives in this movie. It never feels like a film that's forcing the emotions on you like most Oscar baitish movies type do. And it is just a well-made movie overall. It's a very good movie. It tells a very interesting story that has a lot of situations where you want to watch this and you want to know what's going to happen to these people that are involved in the story. And it does a very good job living up to that. I think it does a very good job of giving you everything you expect from this movie. I mean, let's put it this way. You know how back then you used to see commercials for these movies and then you would have them in a screening room or a movie theater talking about their experience about the movie? Stuff like this.
Oil has been called incredibly powerful and truly inspirational.
It made me believe that love conquers all. It was absolutely fantastic.
Nolte is superb. A must see. Susan Sarandon deserves an Oscar.
It's all about love and hope.
Golden Globe nominee, Best Actress, Lorenzo's Oil.
A very moving picture.
Rated PG-13. Now playing in select areas. Starts.
Usually your first thought is, okay, how much is the studio paying you to say all these things? And second thing you'd be thinking to yourself is this really earnest? Like, are you actually praising the movie for this? Or, again, is somebody paying you to say this type of stuff? And like I said before, man, I think those reactions are honest, honestly. Like, I think, like, when you hear those people talk about the way they felt about this movie, it feels like it's very formulaic, but honestly, when you watch the movie itself, you can kind of believe everything they're saying there. So I guess this is one of those few times where they actually did kind of get it right. And for George Miller, this is the first movie he's made outside of his normal territory. Like, this is the guy that did the Mad Max movies. This is the guy that did the Twilight Zone movies. And he did the Witches of Eastwick before this. So he had a very specific directing style to him that was going to be interesting to see if he could adapt to a more serious film like this as he tries to go for an Academy Award, which, in a way, it did kind of work. And unfortunately, he hasn't really done a whole lot more dramas after this one. It's been mostly back to kind of the genre stuff, like the Babe movies and the Happy Feet movies, and even going back to Mad Max, and even his most recent film, which was 3,000 Years of Longing. was his most original film he had done in a while, but at the same time, it still very much felt like a genre type of a film. And I haven't seen that movie yet, though. I do want to check it out, though. But yeah. Overall, watching this movie, I can honestly say that the movie, I think, very much deserves every bit of praise that it got back then. It's a movie that doesn't feel like it's forcing the emotional moments on you. Everything feels like it's very earned. It's a movie that feels like everything it's doing it for a reason. And it works because of the casting for it. It works because the story is so interesting. It works on so many levels that it's kind of hard to really talk smack over, because it's an earnest movie. It's a movie that deserves everything that it gives you, and it delivers on everything it promises you. So, there you go. That's pretty much my whole thoughts on Lorenzo's Oil.
The luck of the Irish is being packed and shipped to a little town in South Dakota whose luck may have just run out.
My ear! He got my ear!
You got the back door, right?
Ow!
You gotta stop the bleeding. Look at it's in the cabinets.
Toward the basement.
We're like really scared.
Hello? I need the police. This is an emergency.
You can kill anything. What the hell are you? You just gotta know how to do it.
Leprechaun.
It's out. It's out of the crate.
So the interesting thing about this movie, you can kind of tell from that trailer alone, they sold this as a straight-up horror movie. There was no elements of comedy in any of the marketing in this movie. Even if you look at the TV spots for this, they went strictly for the horror aspect, because it's a January movie, and usually this is the time when this is the perfect time to release a movie like this in January, because there's no none of the big movies come out during this time. At least back then they didn't. So this was the perfect time to do it, and sure enough, this movie did pretty well. With a budget of under $1 million, it nearly made 9 times that amount, and went on to have this huge cult following. And if you watch the movie, you can kind of see why. I mean, for Warwick Davis, this was kind of his big breakout movie, even though the movie Willow, which came out 5 years prior to this, that was supposed to be like his big breakout film, and it just didn't happen that way. Willow did not do well at the box office. It didn't have that cult following that eventually would lead to its success later on down the road, but this was kind of another one of those. This was the movie that I think was supposed to do what did for Warwick Davis what Willow was supposed to do for him 5 years prior to this. And the movie really works because of him. Like, it's because of Warwick Davis that he injected humor into this role, and they added more reshoots to add more increased gore to appeal to older audiences, and that meshing works really well here. It works because, one, Warwick Davis just fits this role so well, and the fact that he made this role more humorous than it needed to be, I think it makes this movie stand out more than what this could have been. I mean, there are moments in this movie where he's really committed to this role, and he does have some really fun, over-the-top moments and line readings. Like, whenever you hear him scream out, "I need me pot of gold," like, "I need me pot of gold!" Like, it's hard not to laugh at that, but it's also hard not to be intimidated by this little guy, because he really is like, I love the way that this movie combines comedy and horror. I mean, those increased scenes of gore that they added in here, they work so well here. It's so over the top, it's so incredibly gory that you can't help but really just admire how far they went with this. And, of course, I talked about the name that you may be familiar with. Of course, Jennifer Aniston is in this movie, and this was one of her first movies that really ignited her career, because prior to this, she was in a short-lived Ferris Bueller series, which I believe also had Sandra Bullock in it, too. Or I could be mistaken on that, but I think she was also in that show, too. I might have to look that up again, but I know Jennifer Aniston was in that Ferris Bueller series, but of course this movie came out 18 months before she would find success on the show Friends. And for what she had to do in this movie, she's perfectly fine in here. I think the casting overall is pretty solid. You could just tell the people who made this movie were clearly having the time of their lives. It's so cheesy, it's so over the top, it's so gory. It just meshes together so well and makes for a really fun movie that even if you don't like horror movies, like I'm not the biggest horror movie type of person, I can still find a lot to enjoy about this movie. It's not quite Evil Dead levels. Like, I think those movies really are the ones that stand out the most in the horror comedy genre. You can definitely see in this trailer they are trying to mimic the same type of Evil Dead type of camera angles, and most of the time it doesn't really work in this movie, but the movie itself works on its own because of the fun they're having with this, because of the fact that Warwick Davis is putting his all into this. It's just a movie that's just a ton of fun to watch. Like, even if you don't like these type of movies, you can't help but get invested by this movie. It's just so much fun to watch. It's a wonderful time to watch, and it's just a hilariously fun, gory, insane good time. I can't recommend this movie enough, and I mean, this series alone has some fun movies, even though those movies are also very corny and very cheesy. I mean, come on, Leprechaun to the Hood and Leprechaun Back to the Hood. I mean, Leprechaun in Space, like, they went so nuts with these movies that you can't help but just really admire the level of insanity they go with these movies. And I mean, what can you say more about this movie? It's just a ton of fun. I can't really recommend this movie enough. If you haven't seen it already, and you like these type of horror comedies, do yourself a favor and watch this movie, because it's definitely well worth a watch. Leprechaun.
After 20 years, you analyze a lot. You remember people, heroism, the miracle of the Andes, that's what they called it. To be affronted by solitude without decadence or a single material thing to prostitute it elevates you to a spiritual plane where I felt the presence of God. Now there's the God they taught me about at school, and there is the God that's hidden by what surrounds us in this civilization.
Are we supposed to fly that close to the mountains?
That's the God I met on the mountain. We were brought together by a grand experience.
So as you can see, the movie centers around this incident that happened in 1972, where you had this Uruguayan rugby team crash their airplane into the Andes Mountains, and they have to figure out how to survive. And a lot of these people don't survive in this movie. And but the few that did, some of the survivors actually did work on this movie as a technical. In fact, one of the survivors was a technical advisor on the film, Nandu Parado, who was actually portrayed in this movie by Ethan Hawke. This movie is directed by Frank Marshall. This comes after he did Arachnophobia 3 years ago, written by John Patrick Shanley of Joe vs. the Volcano and Moonstruck fame. And you've got some really good talent here. The story overall is very interesting, very exciting to see. Unfortunately, the movie itself, I just don't think it had that spark that this type of a movie could usually work with. I think let me put it this way. I think a better movie, like something like this, is something like Everest, which came out about 10 years ago, which I think that was a much better movie than this movie is, unfortunately. But, it's not a bad movie per se. It's just that this story just seems very formulaic, feels very cliched, and it doesn't really go into this story that seems like an amazing story to tell, but I think it just takes the safe way out of it. And you have a really good cast involved in here. You got John Malkovich doing the narration. As I mentioned, Ethan Hawke is in here, Elena Douglas, Danny Nucci, Josh Hamilton, Vincent Spano, Bruce Ramsey. Just a good cast overall here. They're doing the best that they can here, but the main problem with the movie, I think, is the story, and that's really something that when you have a guy like John Patrick Shanley, who's one of the great writers of this time period, who was writing these really great movies, and then he does something like this, where it just doesn't feel like he's really putting his all into it. It feels like a movie that's just kind of being written as a crowd-pleasing movie, and nothing that really is going to win him another Academy Award. But maybe that's why it was released in January, because maybe Disney even figured it out themselves that this probably wasn't going to work out too well. This was also actually a Paramount co-production, too. One of the few Disney movies that Paramount worked on before they eventually worked together on the Marvel movies, the early movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, overall, the movie is okay. It could have been a whole lot better, but as it is, it's just an okay movie. It's not one I want to watch over and over again, but I am glad I saw it. I am glad to see that the stuff that I did like about this movie, I did like. I just wish the script was a much better written script, honestly. That's just my major complaint with this movie. Other than that, I think it's just fine for what it is. So that's Alive. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Jean-Claude Van Damme in Nowhere to Run.
Fugitive with nowhere to run.
How come you've got a gun? You a bad guy?
A family with everything to lose.
I'm not gonna give up my home.
And no one to turn to.
Sam!
Who are you?
Who are you?
You're not from around here, are you?
When the enemy can destroy a town.
They want your land. Why?
We're gonna need her, Apostle. It's right in the middle of the whole development.
And the law is on their side.
Stop right there.
The only hope for justice.
For everybody's sake, just get out of here!
Is an outlaw.
When push comes to shove, you're gonna be dealing with me. I look forward to it. It's our duty to inform the authorities of Mr. Gillen's whereabouts.
Sam! Something's wrong!
If I see me, her, or the children, I'll kill you.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, as you've never seen him before. Nowhere to run.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is pretty much what Jean-Claude Van Damme was doing at the time. I mean, really, was there anything different about this movie than any other Jean-Claude Van Damme movie? I mean, I guess it's not just a straight-up action movie. I guess he is trying to be more dramatic, but at the same time, there's really nothing there that makes this different than anything else that Van Damme had done up to this point. And the movie itself it's another one of it's kind of like Alive. It's just an okay movie. It's not a bad movie per se. And I do think Jean-Claude Van Damme does show that he can do some dramatic acting in this. Not a whole lot, but at least he's showing it in this. But yeah, I saw it once, thought it was okay, but it's not something I really want to run out and see again. It's one of those movies that kind of feels like it just felt like a movie that didn't really work as well as I think they wanted it to. I think you got a script right here that's by Joe Esterhaus, who had just come off of Basic Instinct. This is the first movie he did after that, and he was one of the co-writers on this. This was supposed to be part of a 3-year picture deal with Columbia Pictures for Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I don't know. Even Van Damme himself has said that the script was not that good, and the writers told him they were going to fix everything, and never did anything with it. So it felt like Van Damme was kind of trapped into doing this movie. I do like that he did try his best to show that he can be just more than an action star, but other than that, though, this is just a pretty generic action movie, honestly, with some quality actors involved. You got Rosanna Arquette in there, Kieran Culkin, just as his brother Macaulay Culkin was in the peak of his career, Ted Levine, Josh Acklin. Good cast overall, but the script is just a mess all around. It's a movie that doesn't really give Van Damme a chance to really show his acting chops in here. Even though he tries his best at times, it's just not enough here to really recommend it. It's a movie that I saw, I was just like, okay, that was not terrible. That's probably the best way I could describe it, but yeah, it's a movie that's instantly forgettable once you see it, so that's nowhere to run. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Madonna and Willem Dafoe in the erotic thriller Body of Evidence.
Have you ever seen animals make love, Frank? It's intense. It's violent.
We're not animals.
Yes, we are.
She is a beautiful woman. But when this trial is over, you will see her no differently than a gun or a knife or any other instrument used as a weapon. She is a killer. Frank, come on, your story here, Frank. Did you do it, Miss Carlson?
It's like she had him chewing on the wood.
There weren't rope burns. She had him handcuffed.
Do you think I killed him?
That's a question I never ask my clients.
There's nothing wrong with admitting that you want me, Frank.
What did she do to you, Frank? How did you get those marks on your chest? What are they? Bites?
Wish me luck. The women hate me. They think I'm a whore.
Men don't marry women like her.
And the men see a cold-hearted bitch they can pay back for every chick that's ever blown them off in a bar.
Sex was a game to her.
I must have been out of my mind to get involved with you. Was she using a razor blade?
I'm hard to resist. Nobody's looking.
Walk away.
And here we have yet another one of the many rip-offs of Basic Instinct that came after that movie became such a success. I mean, the movie right here pretty much is just a knockoff of Basic Instinct, and not a very good one. You could put Madonna with all these talented people, Willem Dafoe, Joe Mantegna, Ann Archer, a young Julianne Moore, and even then, they can't save this movie. And Madonna's not a bad actress. We've seen her be good in movies. Desperately Seeking Susan. I liked her in Who's That Girl, even though I don't think that movie's all that great. And then she's just done A League of Their Own. I mean, she's proven she's gotten some acting chops here, but they're just really forcing another Basic Instinct on this. It's not even a clever movie. Like, Basic Instinct at least kept the mystery aspect going, where you can watch the mystery and be like, okay, I can see where the potential twists and turns come in here, and I'm not completely convinced on what's going to happen in the end. You can pretty much tell how this is going to end. It's just like, it's not even that great of a movie. Like, I'm sorry, I don't like seeing. I'm sorry, the Green Goblin and Madonna don't make for good sex scenes. That's what I'm trying to say here. But like, yeah, they're not sexy scenes whatsoever. The acting overall is pretty mediocre. The script is just a mess, and it was one of two misfires for Madonna in terms of erotic thrillers in 1993, because she had another one that came out the following November in Dangerous Game, which we'll get to that later on down the road. But yeah, Madonna picked some good movies, but then there's movies like this that was just like, what were you thinking when you said yes to this? I mean, it's a mess of a film. It's a mess of a film all around. It's one of the worst movies of the year, and you can kind of see why just from that trailer. So that's Body of Evidence. Now, with that said, let's get ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is, the last movie I should say, Man Bites Dog.
Remy, I'm a filmmaker, and I'm making a film about Ben, a man of many talents. He was a connoisseur of fine foods, a first-rate poet, a philosopher, and a composer. But what fascinated me most about Ben was the intensity he brought to his work. Ben was a killer, an extremely clever and creative killer.
Well, that escalated pretty quickly. I mean, holy crap. I mean, that's pretty much what this movie is. The film follows a crew of filmmakers following a serial killer and recording his horrific crimes for a documentary that they're producing. And then if they don't like it at first, but then they get so involved with it, and they eventually become accomplices in this. And, it's pretty amazing that this movie actually exists, and it's actually pretty funny. It's a strange black comedy that's pretty horrific at the same time, but, it's a really good movie. Like, if you really go into it knowing that it's going to be extremely violent, knowing it's going to take this insane level that it does, you could really find yourself really enjoying this movie. This comes from Belgium, and it's just a ton of fun all around. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw this movie. I was just like, wow, I enjoyed this a whole lot more than I thought it was going to. I don't know if that makes me... I don't know if I should be concerned about that, but as far as the movie itself goes, if you go into it with the right notion that you're going to see something very horrific, but also pretty hilarious, you can find a lot to enjoy in this movie, honestly. It's one that I was so glad that I found. It's a little bit of an underrated gem, honestly. And it's one of the few NC-17 movies that actually ends up being pretty good when you really look at some of the movies that were coming out at the time. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about Man Bites Dog. It's a weird, bizarre black comedy that actually is violent, nasty, but a ton of fun to watch if you're in the right mood.
In 1 square mile of snow, the beautiful, the rich, the famous, and the powerful come to escape. It's where the best skiers in the world challenge their skills. And it's the closest 2 friends from Detroit will ever get to paradise.
What do you think? I think we'll be like the Beverly Hillbillies in that place.
You read about movie stars and ski magazines and you want to move here.
She's staring at you like you're on the menu, Keith.
Get out.
They pay you to be ski instructors, right?
Hope you guys are good.
We're the best skiers on this mountain.
So there's about 100 guys, maybe 2 make it till spring.
We will make it. I know you're good. I know the world.
TJ's one of the new guys.
I can tell.
You got to be able to ski anywhere, anytime, any conditions.
Hi there. My name's TJ. I'll be your ski instructor.
I know. I hired you for the day.
Part of the job is fulfilling a fantasy.
I'm having some friends up to the house tonight. Would you come?
And do the fantasy.
He's beautiful. Thank you.
This chick's amazing, man. Amazing women are everywhere. Can I buy you a drink or something sometime?
I started dating ski instructors when I was 16.
I just got here.
Give it a chance.
You better be willing to go all the way, baby. I like her, all right? Let that one get out, TJ. They'll take away your ski school uniform. She's different.
This is Aspen. Things are always different.
Skiing out of bounds is illegal, you know.
Can you swim?
Like a fish.
Were you with Bryce?
Can I explain this?
TJ, you'll fit right in, trust me.
Take a look at yourself, man. Take a look at yourself. We're the best skier on the mountain. Skiing's the easy part, Carl.
Hollywood Pictures presents Aspen Extreme.
So this is meant to be a parody, right? I mean, come on, man. Like, some of the stuff in here, in that trailer alone, looks completely ridiculous, but this is not a comedy, apparently. This is apparently being sold as a drama. It's supposed to be the Top Gun on the ski slopes, which I don't see how that is, because at least Top Gun was at least a decent movie. It wasn't this movie. This looks like a mix between Beverly Hills 90210 and Alive, kind of, because you got, like, this looks like a really bizarre movie, and a movie that I think is intended to be, they wanted it to be serious, but it comes off comical. I mean, that scene where that one dude is just slamming the guy's face into the window and into the mirror, and the glass breaks on him, and he's like, look at him, he's like, look at yourself. I want him to say, I can't look at myself because you threw me into the goddamn glass and now I've got glass in my face. It's like, what is even happening in this movie? It's like, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. And, I mean, the whole concept alone feels like a comedy, a parody of something, but no, this is being taken seriously, and it's just like, I really don't know what they were thinking when they made this movie, and none of the people in this movie have really... Well, I take that back, because I was about to say nobody here has really done anything of worth, but you've got Peter Berg in there as one of the main guys, Terry Polo from the Meet the Parents series, Finola Hughes, who was on All My Children, I believe. Yeah, General Hospital and All My Children. Pretty much the same thing, honestly. I don't watch soap operas, so I don't know for sure. But with that said, yeah, this movie doesn't look too promising. I mean, if this was intended to be sold as a drama, that trailer did not do them any favors. It looks like a parody of a comedic parody of what they were trying to accomplish here, and it just doesn't look very good at all. It looks like a movie that was just thrusted out there, just put out there to fill a slot in January. A movie that was probably intended for sometime in the winter, but studio saw how bad, just dumped it in January, and the end result is this. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this one. Aspen Extreme. It does not look like a very good movie. Nor does our next movie, which is yet another parody of a parody. This time it seems to be a parody of Basic Instinct and Fatal Attraction, but does not look funny whatsoever. It's a movie called Hexed.
In your search for a warm and wonderful film about falling in love,
I was married to a man who used to make me feel like dirt.
Columbia Pictures wants you to know,
Lord, I miss him so.
They're still searching. What they did find was a story about a beautiful model.
I like men who dare to be different.
And a pitiful hotel desk clerk.
You work here.
She was every man's desire.
The bed. I call you bed.
He was, well, a pitiful desk clerk. But when they met,
Let's go back to your place.
a passion exploded within. But this was a passion fueled by murder.
You just killed somebody.
Do not raise your voice. I'm feeling very fragile at the moment, okay?
Religion.
I believe you made a twisted love pact with that clown based on your mutual admiration of Satan.
And, of course, garden tools.
There's so many sex games we can play. Mayonnaise and a rake.
She's more basic than any instinct.
But you still want to have sex with me.
Best male lover I've ever had.
She's more fatal than any attraction.
Should I be using some sort of protection?
Hexed.
Takes away. Oh.
So yeah, this is another one of those movies it feels like it's supposed to be something else, but I guess this is supposed to be a spoof on like Basic Instinct and Fatal Attraction, but I don't get the idea. I don't get the title of Hex. I mean, I don't get why it has that title. I mean, this movie looks really all over the place, and apparently this was something that was originally intended to be something else. The guy who directed this, Alan Spencer, made the very underrated TV series from the 80s, Sledgehammer, which is a hilarious police parody series. If you haven't seen that Sledgehammer, do yourself a favor and check that out. But when he made this movie, he was not given the full creative control, was forced to film the movie on a really tight schedule. The studio cut the budget. They cut the budget weeks before the film was set to begin, and they actually removed almost 3 weeks from the shooting schedule, and the studio also made major edits, music changes, and it changed the entire tone of the movie that he was intended to make from this, and still made a profit. Honestly, it still made it made $2 million off of a $700,000 budget, which I guess that's considered somewhat of a success because the studio made its money back. But in the end, what did you really get out of it? Because this movie does not look any interesting whatsoever. It looks like a movie that's trying to be like a parody of Basic Instinct, but at the same time, it felt like this movie was done a lot better by another movie that came out by the same studio, Columbia Pictures, which was So I Married an Axe Murderer, which was pretty much the same premise as this, except that movie was a little bit more funnier than this movie is. Nothing about this trailer looked funny whatsoever. I mean, it looked like a bunch of actors who I guess they were trying to set up as the next big thing, like Ari Gross. This was one of the many movies that he was in when they were trying to make him the next big star. Then you have Claudia Christian, who became better known for her work on such shows as Babylon 5, and recently she's been on 911. She was also in Atlantis: The Lost Empire. And then you got Arlie Ermey, and Arlie Ermey is a great character actor, and there's nothing more you can say about him, but you throw him into the mix, and it's just like, you should have something here. A good script could really help this. A good editing and good pacing could actually help this, but studio interference, man. This movie could have been I feel like this movie could have been something much more interesting, but hearing the story about how the studio just completely butchered it, chances are this movie probably came out pretty badly, and I guess it has a cult following to it, so maybe I'm just not seeing it. Maybe I'm seeing something that this trailer is not showing. Maybe they sold this movie the wrong way, but nothing about this movie looks interesting or funny at all. I mean, this movie looks like a movie that could have been something special, but the studio interfered, and the end result was a really bad-looking film. But, haven't seen it, so I can't really comment more on it, but, that's just my thinking on it. So, that's Hexed. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Night Moves.
I want to play a game with you. And I don't have time for this. You have time for Debbie. What's wrong with this picture? No blood. Where the hell's the blood?
The fact that he's viewing this as a game suggests to me he's trying to prove some sense of superiority.
Where were you last night?
No, Andy thinks you're doing this.
Why don't you just ask me what you want to know?
You like to play games, don't you?
Do you know what I'm doing right now, Peter? I'm looking at the name of the girl I'm going to kill tonight. What's wrong?
Nothing.
I don't know if there's two of you involved or what, but we're going to find out.
You're not playing very well.
Why disguise your voice if no one knows it?
There are clues all around you, and you keep missing them.
Can a person this disturbed give the appearance of being normal?
Absolutely.
You met him, could you tell?
Tell what?
If he's crazy.
Getting too hot in here for you?
I'm tired of your damn accusations! Don't move!
Oh my God.
Just using the man as a chessboard. The game's almost over, Peter, and you're running out of time.
Oh, God!
Night moves. In a game of life and death, one wrong move could be his last.
Hard to believe this was directed by the same man that did The Mighty Quinn, which is a great, underrated Denzel Washington movie. But this movie, I don't really know what the heck was that. I mean, it felt like this was kind of an inspiration for Saw, kind of, but at the same time, just by the way everything was setting itself up. Or, you know what? I take that back, because I feel like this movie was kind of an inspiration for something like David Fincher's The Game, because there's definitely a lot of elements from this trailer you can tell came from The Game. If you haven't seen The Game, it's a David Fincher movie that he directed and stars Michael Douglas. A very underrated movie from Fincher, and this was just after he did Seven. Great film overall. I feel like this movie was trying to be something like that, but just wasn't all that interesting, just wasn't all that engaging. Plus, it was cursed from the beginning, because you had Christopher Lambert and Diane Lane, who were dating each other, were married at the time of this, and you know the old saying in Hollywood, never work with your spouse, because 9 times out of 10, the thing you're working on doesn't work out well. And this movie definitely looks like it didn't do so well. It didn't get any good reviews, but I guess it did make back its money back, so at least that's something. But yeah, nothing about this looked interesting whatsoever, and it's a shame, because this guy did The Mighty Quinn, which is a great movie, and this movie just feels like a movie that was just... The intent was not really there to make a really good movie. It felt like this movie was there to just be something to throw out there, just by looking at that trailer alone. But that's all I got to say about that one. So that's Night Moves. Let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Gun Crazy.
A world of private abuse.
Every man I've ever known since I was 9 has wanted the same thing off me. And you not wanting it
just makes me love you more.
And public salvation.
If you truly believe in the power of Jesus Christ, then the serpent cannot harm you.
Until she met Howard.
I can't imagine what was going through the parole board's mind when they let this one out.
Then I started reading your letters. And I started standing up for myself for the first time. You made me free.
Just for a while, no one could use them, hurt them.
Back off.
As far as I'm concerned, you're both trash.
Or laugh at them.
Go on home. You want some of this, Junior? No! Jesus Christ! Hallelujah!
So out of all the new movies that came out this week, this is probably the one that looks the most interesting, just from the fact that you've got Drew Barrymore here playing this teenager who murders her stepfather, who's a sexually abusive man, after he teaches her how to use a gun, and she meets this prisoner who seduces her back into the world of guns, and then she marries this person and decides to show her the remains of her stepfather. He helps her dispose of the body, dispose of the corpse. Howard commits several homicides, although he was provoked in every instance. And this is basically an inspiration for a 1950s movie called Gun Crazy, which was, I'm looking right here, it was kind of the same thing, a crime noir film, from right at the time when that was the thing. But some notable things about this movie is that this is Tamara Davis who directed this movie. If you don't know that name, you definitely probably have seen her work before, because she's done other movies after this, such as CB4 with Chris Rock, which actually comes out a couple months after this. And then most notably Adam Sandler's first leading role in Billy Madison, Best Men, Half Baked, Skip Parts, Crossroads. She's made some decent films, and we'll get to those ones as we go along. But this was the first movie that she directed. This was a script that she had written back in 1985, and it didn't go anywhere until 6 years later, and then was finally shown to the Cannes Film Festival in '92, and then was shown on Showtime the following year, before eventually getting the limited theatrical release that we have here. Also interesting enough that Drew Barrymore was actually in one of the 3 Amy Fisher movies that came out at the time. There was that time in January where they had all 3 networks doing different Amy Fisher movies. Like, I guess that was the thing at the time where everybody had to do the same one for one movie of the week, and then you have this movie coming out at the same time. I don't know if that was just a coincidence that they were all coming out at the same time or what, but of all the movies that we looked at, like I said, this is the one that looks probably the most interesting, and I think this is the one that I think gives Drew Barrymore her first real adult performance that shows how eventually she would become the actress that we know her as today, as she's made a lot of really good movies since then. I think this was the first one that really made her kind of pushed her into these more adult roles. Like, we had Poison Ivy the year before, and then this movie comes around. At least to me, I think this was one of the ones that really showed that, okay, this girl's got some acting chops, and it kind of turned her career. This and Poison Ivy kind of turned her career around, because she was making not the best movies in between E.T. and then Poison Ivy in that 10-year span. So, but I mean, this looks like a pretty decent movie. It looks like a movie that could be very interesting, if not a little chaotic, but I'd be interested to see it at some point. So this is one I might definitely check out at some point, but for right now, I could just say it has a lot of promise to it. So there you go, Gun Crazy.
He's a shadow. He's out there. Somewhere. Waiting.
There's a major coup planned for Election Day in Panama. Ochoa's drug cartel is bankrolling it.
Fighting a war no army can win.
We have less than 1 week to prevent that.
But a single bullet,
Arrange me.
can.
This is Alvarez, and that's where you'll find him. Heavily guarded, inside and out.
But this time, he set his sights too high.
National Security Council is sending a guy along to help shoot her. Has he ever been in a jungle? Just trust me. Anybody the NSC sends down here is going to be fully qualified.
And his only backup is a new recruit.
You want to survive this, right? Do as I tell you to the letter. I think you got a chance. have any choice about it. Our contact is dead. We're going where they'll never expect us.
Why do I feel like this movie was written for all the big action stars of the time period? Like, I feel like this movie was written for guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Jean-Claude Van Damme, especially Sylvester Stallone. I keep thinking that because when you listen to the Tom Berenger in this trailer, he does sound a little too much like Stallone when he was playing Rambo and all that. And I really think that the director of this really wanted to get him, but they probably couldn't get him because of scheduling issues on another movie. But this director, Luis Lulosa, would actually work with him later on with The Specialist a year later. So I guess it all worked out in the end. But as far as this movie goes, it's okay for what it is. I feel like it's a movie that Tom Berenger was making to try to get him to become the next big action star. But, I mean, he was already a prolific actor at the time. He was in Platoon, he was in Major League, he did a lot of other movies, notable movies. But, it's not that this movie is bad or anything. It just feels very generic. It feels like a movie where you kind of know what's going to happen. You kind of know how it's going to pan out. You can tell what the action sequences are going to be like and the violence levels. And it could be fun at times. I mean, Billy Zane is having the time of his life in here. He was actually cast in this after what he started Dead Calm. And he was also in the Back to the Future movies. And it kind of helped raise his profile as a prolific actor. And usually when he's in a movie, he's usually having the time of his life playing whatever role you put him in. And he's really one of the best things about this movie in particular. But other than that, though, it's a movie it's not bad. It's not a bad movie per se, but it's not a classic movie by any means. And the fact that this movie spawned not just one sequel, not two, not three, 8 sequels, 8 direct-to-video sequels that continue to this very day. And it wasn't until later on in the series that they actually brought Billy Zane back because his career had gone down so far that he was kind of reduced back to these direct-to-DVD movies. It's amazing that this series has lasted as long as it has because, honestly, the movie didn't even do that well at the box office at the time. It was like a movie that it made money. I think it made like $19 million, and I don't know what the budget was, but it probably wasn't that expensive to make, especially even with people like Tom Berenger and Billy Zane in there. But I don't know. I just don't understand how this became a franchise. But then again, how does anything with a franchise that's mostly direct-to-DVD usually get made? They usually just take the title of a known movie, stick it onto something that probably makes no sense to the actual story and has no purpose no connection to the actual movie, but they're still going to put it out there anyway so they can make a quick buck. That's probably what I think happened with this movie and these movies that came afterwards. But as far as the movie itself goes, it's just okay. It's a movie that I saw once, and I was just kind of like, at least I didn't hate it. Like, there's many movies that are like this that I did indeed hate, but not this movie. This one was just kind of like, alright, you got me with that one. I'm glad I kind of saw it. Never going to probably watch it again, but I guess its legacy is in those sequels. But 8 sequels, man. Like, some movies can't even get 1 sequel. This thing gets 8 of them. But that's pretty much all I got to say about Sniper. It's okay for a one-time watch, but other than that, there's no real point in watching it over and over again. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. What I think is easily the best new release of the weekend, and that is John Goodman and Joe Dante's comedy Matinee.
How could such a thing happen, Dr. Cabal?
The ant's saliva must have gotten into Bill's bloodstream and gone straight to his brain, just as the radiation, which is measured in units called Roentgens, was released.
And that's how he became a...
Mant.
Gotcha. For the kids of Key West, Florida, there was nothing scarier than a monster matinee.
Lawrence Wolfe, the master of movie horror, exterminates you with Matt.
The story of Matt is based on scientific fact, on theories that have appeared in national magazines.
But in the fall of 1962,
a series of offensive missile sites is
is now in preparation on the island of Cuba.
They got the biggest scare of all.
They're gonna bomb us?
The country is on red alert. What a perfect time to open a new horror movie.
That'd be the best show to take up girl to.
The whole world's gonna blow up anyway, so we should just do whatever we want.
You know, last guy showing out was in reform school.
He did teach me a lot.
What about?
About my body.
Think if the bomb were about to fall, she'd do it with me?
Wait till you see the feelers on this thing.
Uno, dos, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Some of it's stage lighting, some of it's magic show stuff. But the big studios, none of them have anything like it. You never, ever turn one above 6.
This is it! From Joe Dante, director of Gremlins. You see what he's putting back? The showmanship.
The bombs are falling! You think this is some kind of picnic for me?
I'm still concerned about that bomb thing.
Little question of taste.
No, but your younger patrons, you could have some seat wetness.
John Goodman. I love this business. Matinee.
Man, I'm seeing this twice.
This movie is one of the most fun times you will ever have watching a movie. It's one of the most underrated movies ever made. One of Joe Dante's most underrated movies, maybe the most underrated movie of his long, prolific career. And it's just an amazing movie. It's a movie that is great for film buffs, it's great for people that don't even like movies all that much. You can still find so much in this movie to really love and appreciate. The casting is just great. John Goodman, who at this point was trying to find a way to branch out as a leading actor, and he had movies that were good opportunities, just missed opportunities overall, like stuff like King Ralph, and then The Babe, and then he does this movie where he's amazing in this, playing Lawrence Woosley. He's playing this William Castle type independent filmmaker who's making these movies of the time period, of this time period, the 1950s, 1960s, and the home front being the Cuban Missile Crisis. That was a great concept to have that as the backdrop of this movie. The rest of the cast overall is great. You got Kathy Moriarty in here, Robert Picardo, Kelly Martin. You have an unknown Naomi Watts in this movie who has a cameo within the film, within the film. And the movie is just a ton of fun, man. It's a movie that you can go into this movie having the time of your life watching it, just for the visual look, the comedy, the casting. Everything about this movie is just so brilliant. It's so amazingly funny. And I'm so happy that this movie has gone on to have a cult following over the years. It's coming up on a 30th anniversary as of the time I'm recording this in the next couple of months. If you haven't seen Matinee, do yourself a favor and go check it out, because you will not be disappointed by this movie. It's funny, it's well made, it's visually stunning, visually creative. I can't say any more about this movie. Matinee, it easily is the best new release of the weekend. One of the best movies of '93. It's just a great movie overall. You're doing yourself a huge disservice if you don't go out and see it at least once. So, there you go. That's my thoughts on Matinee. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is the sequel, Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice.
An evil from another dimension has possessed the children.
She is the first to be sacrificed!
It's controlling their minds and feeding their hate. They're home alone, but their parents are never coming back. Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice.
Yes, The Final Sacrifice, because clearly they're never going to make any more movies after this one. Oh wait, they actually made 9 more of these movies after this one. It's just like... And some of them were remakes. There was actually 2 remakes of Children of the Corn that came out in 2009, and more recently in 2020, directed by the same brilliant man that gave us such great movies as Ultraviolet and Equilibrium. I know people like Equilibrium, but I don't. And Ultraviolet is just a terrible movie overall, but that's a whole other thing altogether. But Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice. Definitely not The Final Sacrifice, because they kept making these movies, because, let's face it, anytime you put the final on any horror sequel, and it actually does well at the box office or makes somewhat of a profit, they're just going to keep going until they beat the dead horse for good. I mean, anyone remember Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare? That was the last time we saw Freddy Krueger, right? What about Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter? That was the last time we saw Jason Voorhees. Yeah, bottom line, stop calling your movie final unless you're actually going to make them final. Well, the Saw movies are another example. Saw the final chapter. Never saw him again. Never saw the Jigsaw again after that. But yeah, you kind of get my point. And chances are, and you could probably tell that this movie was not very good compared to the first movie that came out 8 years ago. Did not get good reviews. Like I said, it made its money back, so keep making the sequels, and of course, clearly that wasn't going to be the end of the series. That's pretty much all I got for you on this one. Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice. Let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is Nemesis.
As a human being, his life is more dangerous with each sunrise.
So it's a Terminator and Mad Max knockoff. That's pretty much all I got for you on that one. Okay. I'll be honest, I haven't seen this movie. I can't really comment on it too much, but I mean, come on, that trailer was trying way too hard to try not to be a Terminator knockoff, and it didn't even try at that. But okay, I guess it's not really a knockoff of Terminator, but I mean, listen to this premise. Set in a near-future world populated by androids, the film centers on Alex Rain, played by Olivier Gruner, a cybernetically enhanced ex-counterterrorism operative charged by his former employees with assassinating his former lover, the leader of an underground militant group. So technically, it isn't really a Terminator or a Mad Max knockoff, but it definitely has the feel of one. I mean, if you actually look at the full trailer for this, you can definitely tell that there's a lot of elements that look very Terminator-ish and Mad Max-ish, but I mean, who knows? I mean, it actually has pretty decent reviews at 60%, which is much higher than I would have thought for a movie. Excuse me. Lost my train of thought. But like I said, it's a movie that you would not look at this and say that has a 60. How does that have a 60% rating on Rotten Tomatoes? I mean, 60% isn't great, but it's certainly a lot better than you would think it would be. But I mean, who knows? Maybe there's actually something there that I'm missing here. I mean, maybe there is a lot more to this that I haven't seen before, but I'm certainly not going to rush out to see it, but I guess I can kind of take back that maybe it isn't so much a Terminator or Mad Max knockoff, but again, that trailer definitely shows a lot of Terminator and Mad Max-esque to it. So that's pretty much all I got for you on Nemesis for real this time, but that's pretty much it.